These are your notes for ISN page 28. And when you're done copying those into your notebook, I am going to get you to do page 29 for the rest of this class. So looking at page 28, literal equations, and what a literal equation is it is an equation with two or more variables. We've been doing equations that have one variable, usually x, and we've been trying to solve for x and we actually get a number. In a literal equation, you're still looking for a variable, but you're left with extra variables in the equation. So a literal equation is an equation with two or more variables. Remember, variables are letters that represent an unknown. To solve these, we're going to use all the same rules that we were doing to solve equations. We always use inverse operations. So inverse operations mean if I was adding, I would have to subtract. That's going to be the opposite operation. If I had subtracted from a letter to get it back, I added. When I was multiplying to get that number back, I had to divide. Or if I had divided a letter by a number to get that back, I would multiply both sides by that. I'm going to do the inverse operation. There's one more operation that we've been doing this year, and that's squaring. If I have a number that I've squared, like 3 squared equal to 9, to get it back, I have to take the square root. Because the square root of 9 is 3. The same holds true. If I had the square root of a number, like 3, to get it back, I would have to square it. Those are inverse, they're opposite operations, and they undo what you did. So let's look at some examples. We know how to do these. When I am solving for x and I've added a letter or number, I'm going to subtract. So I would solve for x. I'm going to have to subtract 7 from both sides, and I would get negative 19. The same holds true even if you have variables. So because I've added b, I have to subtract b from both sides. A then would be C minus B. Remember, in subtraction, order matters, right? So you have to write the C first. You are taking B, whatever that number is, away from C to solve for what you were looking for, A. When you're subtracting, you would have to add both to both sides. So what you do to one side, you do to the other. You would get Y equal to 43. If you are solving for D here and you have taken some number away, you're going to do the inverse by adding to both sides. So D is actually equal to F plus E. Okay, just so that you've seen this word a few times, remember this is a commutative property. That order doesn't matter when you're adding, right? When you're adding and you're multiplying, order does not matter. But be careful, when you're subtracting and dividing, it does matter. Okay? So then let's look at some multiplying and dividing. Just one step. We're always doing the inverse operation. So if I have a numerical coefficient like negative 6 in front of the x, I'm going to divide both sides by that factor. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. That gets rid of that number in front of the x. So I now have solved for x, and I have my answer is positive 5. If I am looking for r, and I have multiplied it by 2 pi, then I have to divide by 2 pi. Think of 2 pi as a number, just like negative 6 was a number. So I am going to divide both sides by 2 pi. Now I have r all by itself. I've isolated the variable I was looking for, and I've solved it. We can rewrite these equations because it's equal. Equations are symmetric. So often you'll see me rewrite this equation as r equals c over 2 pi, because these guys are symmetric. So I can move it to left and right as long as I don't change anything, equations. And then I can just read the answer. I like it when I read left to right. So I was looking for r. I'm going to write r on the left-hand side. You'll see me do that a lot. Okay, when we're dividing, right, we solve for y, and we've always said get rid of the fractions. So I have to get rid of that denominator. It's division, so I'm going to multiply both sides by -4. That means I have y equal to -32 in this case. All right, it same holds true for m. It's divided by v. I am going to have to multiply both sides by v to solve for m, to isolate that variable by itself. It's a common factor, so then I have m equal to v times d. Oh, that made me think. That's an equation you should recognize. That's circumference of a circle. This one, this is physics stuff. Let's look at further equations. On the next page, you see these are going to be more than one step, but you're going to follow the same rules. If you are looking for W, you have this has been added to W, so you have to do the opposite by subtracting -2L from both sides. This is a familiar formula too. This is perimeter, twice the length and twice the width. That's a rectangle, right? L and W. So you found the outside edge of that. All right, these are not like terms. So you can't simplify them any more than writing P minus 2L equals 2W. I got rid of the constant, that's a number. I got rid of that by subtracting it from both sides. Now, this is as simplified as this side, the left-hand side can get. So now I'm looking to isolate the variable W, and there's a 2 in front of it. So it's just like a two-step equation. First, I had to get rid of the constant. Now I have to get rid of the numerical coefficient in front of the variable I'm looking for. Those are common factors. They're going to cancel out, and you should solve for W equals P minus 2L divided by 2. So the width of your rectangle is the perimeter minus twice the length, and then divide it by 2. Here's another formula you're going to recognize. This is the area of a triangle. The base, the height has to be at a 90-degree angle from the base when you're finding the area of a triangle. If you want to find the length of this base, you're first, right, you're looking for B. That's what the equation asks for. So when you're solving for B, get rid of the fractions. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 because 1/2 of 2 is 1. 2A equals B times H. I'm looking for B and I've multiplied it by this H. H is a number. So to do the inverse operation, I am going to divide both sides by H. Then those factors cancel out. I've solved for the B, the base of my triangle. It was 2A divided by H. You're always doing the inverse operations. Pause the video quick, and then I want you to try and come back and see if you could solve these. So hopefully you were able to solve for L. You're looking, there it is. So you have to get rid of this number. When you have added something to it, you should have subtracted it. So I am going to minus pi r squared from both sides. Minus pi r squared from both sides of the equation. Now I have s minus pi r squared equals pi, that's a number, times r times the L that I'm actually looking for. That is what I want all by itself. So when I look at this, it's been multiplied by pi and r. The inverse of multiplying is division. I am going to divide pi by r. If I divide one side of the equation, I have to divide the other. So when you've simplified this, you found L. You should have had the s minus pi r squared. You can't simplify that anymore because those are not like terms, divided by pi r. This is actually the formula for the surface area of a cylinder. All right, There's the area of the top and the bottom. That's the pi r squared thing. And then this is actually that rectangle. If you thought about like a soup can, it's the label. That's that for that. That's that formula. You'll see that again. All right. Number 8. Hopefully you had a chance to try that. This time we're looking for W. This is not a formula that I recognize at all. This one is just practice solving literal equations. So remember what we would do first. We would get rid of fractions. So hopefully you multiplied both sides by m first, because m is dividing all this stuff. So you have to get rid of it by multiplying. Rewrite your equations. M times s equals, those are gone, so you should have w minus 10e. You are looking for w. You can see you've subtracted whatever this number is, so you are going to have to add 10e's to both sides. They're not like terms, so when you simplify it, you are going to get w, the letter you were looking for, should have been m times s plus 10e's. Take some practice, but yay, look at page 29. You've got lots of practice here. Try these ones. It asks you right here what to solve for. So that's what you're going to look for. What to solve for. Isolate these variables, and I will see your work the next time you're in class.